I'm standing next to a creek in Beenleigh. There are actually 3 main creek systems that flow through the town. The reason why I'm making this video is because I discovered that these creek systems do not have names. Obviously the indigenous people had names for them. Those names are not recorded. Why don't these creeks have names? And since they don't, what are we going to call them? So I'm up here on the top of Mount Warren, just to the south of Beenleigh. Why am I up here? Well, it's because 2 of the 3 creeks flow from the foothills of this little mountain range. So for Creek System 1, that's the one that flows past Homeview Road and the Tees Abattoir. That's over that way there. There's some range of hills over there where that flows down. The second creek system flows from pretty much down the bottom here at the end of Mount Warren Boulevard along James Street past the showgrounds and up to the Duck Park. The other system is more over that way. That also starts near the base of Mount Warren, the Mount Warren range here, and that flows down near to Big W at Beanley Marketplace and the Hugh Munns Park area there before winding its way up to the Albert River. It's actually a lovely place to walk along up here at Mount Warren. It's been yowie free since 1964. For the first creek, I'm going to begin up at Benjell Drive. This is the very southern end of that road. As you can see, there's a lot of bushland over that side there. So this first creek system begins somewhere up in this range up here. Warraga Road is just up that way there. I'm going to call it and say here on Benjell Drive is the beginning of Unnamed Creek 1. Walking down Nicholas Court now, this is the first stop, and here at the low point of the road is one of the little streams that make up part of Creek 1. All looks pretty dry at the moment, but if you come over the road, this is the other side of it coming out here, and there's water flowing here. Alright. Well, straight away on this journey, this is the first place I've stopped at, and there's already water. I wonder why it's not on that side. Anyway. Alright, so that's really cool. There's our first little flowing stream. The creek itself, that particular branch of it, of Unnamed Creek 1, continues just down the bottom there. This here is a different branch of Creek 1. It splits a little bit further that way. The other branch then goes down to Nicholas Court where I just was. This one's got water flowing through it as well, and little tiny waterfalls through it. It really looks rainforesty there, and some pretty big trees too. Go across the road again. This is it on the other side. There's a turtle. I had no idea there were turtles in these creeks. Creek 1, and there are turtles in there, or is it tortoises? Heading back up to Harburg Drive, incredible, a turtle down there. There's the stream there. It's all overgrown with all that weed. And once again crossing over the road to see what it looks like on the other side down here. The turtles have their houses down here. This here is Logan River Road. It's very hard to give a date as to when this road was put through. However, I would suggest it was 1865 because that's when Gooding and Davy established their sugarcane farm that way. And they called their sugarcane farm Beenleigh. The creeks that I was just looking at back there come down through here, just over that way there. But you can see here, this trackway, this is an old cattle track leading from Homeview train station. The cattle would be herded under here, over that way and up to the abattoir. I'll just go across Logan River Road and see what the creek looks like on the other side. Very busy road, this one. Here we are on the other side of Logan River Road, and there's the cattle track. But the creek is right next to it. If I just come around this side, there it is. Creek number 1 going under Logan River Road. And the abattoir behind me was opened, I believe, in 1952. This is Homeview Road. Well, this is the deviation from it. It originally went over that way. Here's part of the stream just here, Creek 1. So you can see this area here is very, very low lying, very marshy. Someone asked once how tall I was. I'm that tall. There's that cattle track over there. Again, I'm a little bit closer to it now. Well, I'm down at ground level. So I'm up the northern end of Homeview Road, and the road makes a curve round to the left here. See there? But originally the road went straight ahead. The railway line, which is now down there, went around that high bit of ground, cut off when the line was put through here, probably during electrification in the early 1980s. Because with electric trains you have to go on, you know, flatter, straighter ground because they're going much, much faster. There comes this doggy. He always barks at me. Ruff, ruff, ruff. Yep. I know. This looks like an old, like a sheep thing. You know, if you have a truck that's either dropping sheep off or picking them up. It's these ramp things. That looks like one of those. This path here, this is the old train line. This is where the steam trains came through. And the reason why I'm walking on this old train line is because the creek system, Creek 1, is just over that way. So right near the end of Creek 1, the Logan River is just behind those trees over there. This green and pleasant land right here is where the creek comes down onto a floodplain, and it kind of meanders around. Too flood prone to build on it. And the old Homeview train station was round about just over there. That's where it was. And there's a sign here, which is very out of date now, the Shire Council. This whole area was part of Shire. That went all the way down to the New South Wales border. So Beanley was part of that entire Gold Coast area. Later on, of course, there was the Gold Coast Shire, of which Beanley was a part of, then became part of Logan. Keep this ramp and gateway clear at all times. This is an old cattle ramp. I don't know, what do you call these things? Anyway, so the cattle arriving here by train would have then been herded around those buildings there, down under Logan River Road and to the abattoir. Or, considering what we've got here, they could also be loaded onto trucks and taken, I don't know, maybe to the abattoir also, if they weren't going to herd them. Big holding pens for the cattle, either after just having got off the train or waiting to get onto a cattle train and go somewhere else. What's your name, sorry?
I'm T. Torito.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, man. Follow her, man. Good information about. Yeah. No,
thank you so much.
Yeah, will do, man. Great day. It's good to see you, man.
You too. Yeah. I'll the video will be up in about 5 days.
5 days. No worries, man. I'll keep an eye, man. Thank you, man. Have a good one, eh?
Thanks, mate. Bye-bye. So that is Unnamed Creek 1. Beginning now the walk along Unnamed Creek 2. This one begins, as roughly as I can estimate, going by the old maps, around about here on Mount Warren Boulevard. The Palm Lakes something, looks like a retirement home, and I'll follow it north up to the Doug Larson Park. I think it's also known as the Duck Park. It's retirement living for over 50s. Well, I'm 53. I have no intention of retiring. moving along now onto the Beanley Bow Desert Road. The creek would have flowed under the BP petrol station, and it's been straightened just past the petrol station. It's kind of like a stormwater drain thing, but that's actually part of the old creek. And that's it over there, down the bottom of the car park of the sports centre. That's our first sight of creek number 2. Just crossed over Manila Street, and here is where the creek continues. Plovers over there who are having apoplexy because I'm walking here. They can be vicious, those birds. I think they're masked lapwings. All right, here we are. This is James Street. And for those who were unaware of this fact, James Street was originally part of the old inland road from Brisbane to Sydney. And where I'm walking on James Street now, this used to be a wooden bridge right here. So the creek has come down from the mountain where the retirement home is. It cuts across originally under the road. It's where the wooden bridge was up there. They've made this little drain here. Anyway, we'll go around. One of the things you need to do when you're walking about your neighbourhood and exploring the landscape is to keep in mind just how much the landscape may have changed over the decades or even over 100 years or more. For example, this earthen bank to my left, that's all artificial. That's landfill. When they were building the sports field, they sort of heaped up the soil up here to create a larger level playing field. But originally that would have been more flatter ground with a gentle slope going up towards Aragon Street. Here's our second unnamed creek here. The ubiquitous car tyre. Quiet little willow park, except for the dog barking. This is the source of a stream that flows into Unnamed Creek 2. The source of the creek is somewhere around about here. I'm not quite sure where it is. The land goes up. You can see up that way. So it'd be somewhere up in there and goes across the road over there heading northeast. Of course, the creek has had the modern channeling treatment done to it. Yeah, I know. He was just telling me I look good, but I already knew that. You knew that too. It's actually a lovely big open space here. Big old paper bark there. There has to be one thing to spoil the view though, and that's shopping trolley. And that's a big W trolley. The closest big W is at Beanley Marketplace, and that's, what, a couple of Ks from here. That means someone's pushed this trolley all the way here. They had the energy and the determination to do so, but they didn't have the determination or the energy to take it back where it should have been left. Coming down to another bridge and pick up the creek again. There it is. There's the train line. This part of the creek obviously has been affected by later development. There's big stone blocks that have been put in there. This place here, actually, in the early 20th century, maybe even into the late 19th century, this was the site of a dam. All of this area here was underwater, and the reason why there was a dam here was because of the trains. The steam trains needed a reliable source of water. The wall of the dam was roughly where the train line is now. They dammed it there, and all this filled up with water. And then the creek was allowed to come out the other end of the dam wall and continue on its way past Manila Street and further up to the Douglason Park. And there is a clue to this old body of water here, you know, and it's just up these stairs up here. This is Reservoir Street. heading right down to where the dam used to be. Oh, and there's chickens. They're brave because right across the road there's a KFC. So just leaving Xander Street now, that's George Street up there, and this is Logan River Road. Across the other side of the road you can see some rather dense bushland. The creek continues through there. It's going through there. All of these trees here, this is all regrowth. There's nothing original about this. You can see on this 1955 image, the landscape is quite barren. There's another creek down there. That's a branch of Unnamed Creek too. It originally flowed under those businesses there. That land has been heaped up to put the businesses above flood waters. Just taking a little detour down here off Boundary Street to see if I can find this branch of the creek, but it's very, very overgrown here. It's in there somewhere. I can see some water. Wow. Just left Bougainvillea Street and now onto Manila Street, and the road here goes down to the creek. Looks quite nice except for the car tyres as usual. There's 3 of them just here. I wondered, do council ever go around and clean out car tyres from creeks? Because these ones look like they've been here for a long time. Thorsbourne Park. There is a branch of Unnamed Creek too that flows through this park. In fact, it begins on the other side of the train line just over there. I believe it is a natural spring, or just a permanently marshy, boggy area. And that flows this way. There's the course of it. You can see behind there and around that way. You can follow it on the map and you can see how it begins near Spans Road and then joins with Unnamed Creek too, further back that way there. A lot of these like bulrushes, I think they're called. Fluffy things. Now walking down Kokoda Street, and the creek crosses Kokoda just here, goes off in that direction over there and comes down here. See, it's a managed environment. It's all under control, but the creek is more or less in exactly the same place as it's always been. Go and have a look on the other side, see what it looks like. Leaving Kokoda Street and coming onto Boundary, and there's the Davy Gooding Bridge. The creek is just here. Davy Gooding, that's those two again. They established the sugarcane farm that they called Beenleigh and gave the town its name. Beanley is a small, very small settlement in Devon in England. Now that's interesting. The bridge has a name, but the creek that it crosses doesn't. So that's one side of the bridge. Try and get across this road and see what it looks like on the other side. I'm not kidding, Boundary Street needs a pedestrian crossing. Wow, that's a busy street. Very rainforesty looking too. It's nice, but it's all regrowth. Just arrived at the Doug Larson Park, and here's the creek again. We pick it up here just near, that's now Logan Street. Boundary finishes there. That's Logan Street, very old one. Here's the creek. So the creek will go on further north that way, and that's where I'm going to go now, up towards the Logan River. The indigenous name for the Logan River is Duggalumba. So there's the creek there. We'll move just a little bit more north now. There's the creek. It goes under that little bridge, but something changed on the other side of it. It's just over here. If you walk around here, you can see a much larger body of water. Now this is artificial. The creek indeed went that way, snaked its way around off there into the distance, but this was flooded deliberately as part of the park landscaping in about the mid-1990s, according to the maps and photographs I've got. And you can tell that that area over there was once dry land, because in the distance there's an old telephone pole, and that telephone pole was originally put into dry land. Now it's in the water. Unnamed Creek 2 enters the Logan River up that way, but originally, according to the map evidence, there is another creek going around that way past the sports fields, and this creek entered the Logan River further to the west. Channel up that way where it connects with the river, I think, is more of a probably done in the 90s just for the outlet for this extra body of water here. So that's it. That's the end of Unnamed Creek 2. And here we are on Manila Street. This is the beginning of the exploration of Unnamed Creek number 3. Well, actually, it's not totally unnamed. There is a part of it that has a name. I won't tell you what it is yet. And here's the first part of it. This little creek here. Just there, see that? That flows under Milne, under the old stables, I think they are. Coming down to one of the low points in Manila Street, and there used to be a creek round about where I'm walking now. Drain there. And the creek would flow that way. So that's two little parts of the creek inside the showgrounds. Ooh, this is new. This bit of land has been sold now. That's a big block. Coming up onto the next branch of Named Creek 3. This is where it goes on the map. So there's Mount Warren in the distance over there. This third creek system, numerous little valleys, the creek flows down and heads off towards Humans Park. Here's somebody. Oh, nice car. Very cool car. Hello.
WalkaboutWithRob.
That's me.
Man, I thought one of these days.
Thanks, buddy.
Hey.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And here's the fourth one. So this is the other side of Milne. The roundabout is there, and Rochester Drive goes off that way. The historical village is just over there. But here's the other creek. Just taking a little look down here beyond the roundabout, because A, I've never been here before, and B, I think you can get a closer look at this part of the creek number 3. I'm checking for snakes. So what this means is I'm not far from the Humans Park. That's where this part of the creek and the other 3 that I've passed along Manila Street go into Humans Park. To get to it, I've got to get across the roundabout. Beanley Historical Village. Now, for those of you who've watched my channel before, I have covered this park. If you want to get more information about this park I'm going to, you can catch that video. So this marshland here is fed by the little streams up on Mount Warren. They come down here and collect, and then there's one particular stream that flows north up to the Albert River. Now that I'm here, I can reveal the name of the creek that flows between here and the Albert River. However, there's a slight problem in that there are 2 names for it. We didn't have any for any of the other creeks, now we've got 2 for the one. This is known as Saltwater Creek. The other name for it is... I can't remember now. Townsend's Gully. Townsend's Gully, that's what this is called. So who was Townsend? His name was Victor Lewis Townsend. He was born in Indonesia, moved out to Australia years later. By the age of 60, he was living here in Beenleigh, and he was the bailiff for Beenleigh. There's a little caravanning, camping kind of park here, but with the housing crisis, there are a lot of people living in tents here at the moment. And I mean, for heaven's sake, people have to live somewhere. In addition to the creeks we've just been talking about and exploring, There's another part of the creek that goes around and under Beanley Marketplace and then heads off in a northwesterly direction through the Beanley High School. Just next door to the Humans Park is Beanley train station. The current one here was opened in 1988, just in time for World Expo 88. Unfortunately, they built it in marshland. It's actually part of the same wetland that Humans Park is in. Therefore, this area is very prone to flooding, and the station has flooded several times over the years. The original Beanley train station was built in the centre of the town, up that way on higher ground, and that never flooded, and that was from 1885 that was built. Perhaps not the best planning to build a major train station in a swamp. Centrelink is just over there. Beanley train station is behind me. The reason why I'm up here is because down there, that was part of the Humans Park wetland area. This is the end that's been developed. There was a creek flowing right behind me, flowed that way, going along Alamein, what's now Alamein, and up to or past the showgrounds. What that means is when the train line was put through in the mid-1880s, round about here where I'm standing was where the train line used to be. And that's interesting because the train line had to go over the creek bed, which was down there. There was a bridge. There was a big heavy wooden bridge. And the trains came right through here. Now, even though the creek from down there is gone, it does reappear further ahead. Just come down from that raised area and walking along, this is Unnamed Street here. The Beanley Mall is just across the road there. The creek continues down this way. You can see how the land dips down. The reason why it's got this curve on it is because it was following the course of the creek that ran through here. Now arriving at the Albert River Park, and it's through this park that creek number 3, Saltwater Creek and or Townsend's Gully, flows into the Albert River. I should come here more because you can see Mount Stapleton as well. Did you know the old name for Mount Stapleton was Yellowwood Hill? A lot of the early houses in Beenleigh were built of wood, and they were built of wood sourced from Mount Stapleton. Oh, very high tide. That's about as close to the river as I'm going to get here. I only came down here to show you what the view looks like from the pontoon, but I can't get to the pontoon because my nice new shoes will get wet. While I'm down here in this Albert River Park, I remember from some earlier research, these trees here in a line there used to be a road running right through here. Here it is on the aerial photo from 1955. And here we are, up near the mouth of creek number 3. Albert River is just over that way there. And here's the creek. This is the water that originally starts up at Mount Warren, flows into the wetlands at Humans Park, and then eventually winds its way down here. I'm just trying to find if I can see the Albert River from here. It's one of those things that always, I got a bee in my bonnet about having a nice park with a river near it, but you can't actually see the river because of all the trees. Found somewhere where I can get a shot of the Albert River. Told you it was here. Made it down to the Albert River. The mouth of creek number 3 is just back that way there around the bend. So this video came about when I discovered that the creek systems through Beenleigh don't have names except for parts of this one here, creek number 3. With Beenleigh's, and I think next year, 2025, will be Beenleigh's 160th anniversary if we take the founding of the town from the arrival of Davy and Gooding with their sugarcane farm. That could be a really good opportunity to choose some names for these creeks. We've got Saltwater Creek just back there, also known as Townsend's Gully. But the rest are kind of up for grabs. What do you reckon? To me, it seems a shame. It almost seems silly when you look at a map of the creeks here in the Beanley area, and almost every one of them is just listed as unnamed. At least one of them should be called Walkabout with Rob Creek. Thanks very much for watching. That'll do for this documentary. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. I thought this was going to be a bit of a, it's creeks. They're not that interesting. I know some people have said they're very interesting, and I believe them now. This was a fascinating journey. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And I'll see you again soon.